Episode 5 of All Marlins Off Day podcast. And we are joined by my friend Hero. He is part of the St. Louis Cardinals fan base, and he'll be helping me out with this
So,
one as the Marlins just wrapped up a series against the Cardinals, but we'll get into that in a bit. Um, to start us off, I just want to say go ahead and check out our latest pod with me, Kevin Barral, Jeremiah Geiger, and Sean Malerick, who just started his brand new podcast, Marlins Midnight, I think it was the name, but Marlins After Midnight. There it is. It was a great podcast. We went over basically the latest news that we're about to cover here, and we created an NL All Star team selection draft. So go ahead and check that video. I'll put that in the description below on this video. And yeah, go ahead and check and go give Sean from Call to the Pen some love. So we'll start us off with the first skid that the Marlins just finished. It was a 13 game skid against the New York Mets, Colorado Rockies, and St. Louis Cardinals. They finished with 6-7. They're now 34-40 and sitting fourth in the NL East. I think last time we were on the pod, it was still the same thing. Um, 13 games, not bad. You know, they had to play the Mets, who are the best team in the NL East, unless the Braves come back out of nowhere. They took one of three. Sandy was a bit unlucky out there with the umpires. Kind of gave up a couple runs here and there. Broke that very long streak that he had run going on for him. Marlins went back to Miami and swept the um, Colorado Rockies, and they went back to Busch Stadium and took one of three from the St. Louis Cardinals. So that's pretty much what was going on for the Fish. Top performers definitely Sandy. He's just amazing every single time he hits the field. Garrett Cooper is one of the names that we're going to be mentioning a lot in a bit, and we have some kind of heartbreaker news that we will talk about soon as well. So we're going to bring it over to our next topic, which is the St. Louis Cardinals and Marlins series, which just wrapped up. Marlins overall season series took two games and a total of six against the Cardinals this year, which is an improvement from 2021, where they got swept both times at home and in St. Louis against the Cardinals. So my friend here, Hero, joins me in this one. So who would you say surprised you the most out of the Marlins? Could be a pitcher, could be a hitter. Who do you think really stood out in both series?
um, obviously Sandy, he always shuts us down basically. So it wasn't much of a surprise, but I mean, it was until that last game. I mean, it was all Cardinals pretty much. But the Marlins do have some very good players. Um, Hold on, I have to take a look.
Now you're good. Like if I had to think of if I have to think of some Cardinals that really stood out, Paul Goldschmidt, man, he's tearing it up. That guy is possibly the NL MVP this year, and it wouldn't surprise me at all. He's had that track record. He's always been consistent. He's really good. He's got a nice hit tool. He's a veteran, and he's no doubt a Hall of Famer by the time
Yeah,
his career's wraps. So another name, a lot of the young guys really showed off as well. Juan Yepes was an absolute Marlins killer in that series. Harrison Bader did go down as an injury. So they're really filling up holes, and these guys who have filled up those holes for St. Louis are really going out there and, actually playing good ball. Adam Wainwright always comes in and shuts down the Marlins every single time throughout the years. It's been proven that he is one of the best performing pitchers against the Marlins all time in his career. So what else you
uh,
got?
yeah. So the guy that stood out in this series from the Marlins, besides Sandy, it was definitely Garrett Cooper.
Absolutely.
He was 5 for 10 on the series. That's 5 hits, a 500 batting average. I mean, he's probably the Marlins' best hitter right now,
Yeah, I could agree.
and yeah, he deserves to be an All Star player this year.
Mm. I'm glad you say that, and you got to give credit to a guy like Cooper. He plays for a team that isn't really widely known around the league. Many people don't know or watch Cooper like we do here in Miami. Cooper, ever since the first day of the season, he's been consistent at the plate. He's hitting over 300 and OPS over 850, and an ERA plus of about, I think, in the 140s or 137, I think is where it's sitting at for Cooper. In my opinion, Cooper is the backup DH for Bryce Harper as he went down in injury with surgery. So, it was a tough pill to swallow for the Phillies, but, that opens the doors to Cooper. But unfortunately, given that Cooper plays in Miami and the All Star game at the end of the day is a celebrity contest, it makes it very hard for Coop to even enter it. And I think you could relate
Um,
with a guy like Tommy Edman.
yeah. Although like in Cooper's case and Edmund, those guys that are like less known around the league, like
Hmm.
less known to the fans outside of their fan bases, I think the good thing about the All Star game is the fan voting. It only goes like so far. It's mostly just for the starters,
Yeah.
and then I'm not sure if it's the players or like the coaches that decide, like the reserves.
Yeah.
But
They,
but
ha- they,
they
they
always
have their pitch.
they have. I feel like every year they have a pretty good roster, like very accurate to what the players have been like up to that point. So I wouldn't like. I think Edmund and Cooper will get in as reserves.
It's good to hear.
Um, yeah. I don't know. I think Tommy Edmund deserves more recognition as a starter as well, but it's tough when you play everywhere. It's kind of hard to define a position for someone like that. So
And if I'm not mistaken, for Tommy Edmonds' case, I believe he carries the highest WAR in the National League. I might be
actually,
wrong on that one.
Sandy actually is the leader right now in
Oh
WAR. But like
wow!
for position players, it is Tommy Edmond. I mean, if we're going by Baseball Reference WAR, Tommy Edmonds at 4.5, which is even leading Paul Goldschmidt, who's the National League MVP right now. Goldschmidt's at 4.2. So
Wow. And we met, as I mentioned earlier. I mean, Paul Goldschmidt is just that guy that you want to jot down as the NL MVP. And I've said this many times in many Twitter Spaces and many podcasts with my buddies. It's hard to bet against the Cardinals. This team is consistent year in, year out. There's no such thing as rebuild in St. Louis. And in my opinion, in a realistic case, given if the Marlins never had the crappy history they've had in the last 15, 20 years since their 2003 chip, I always thought that the Miami market has the ability to be very similar to St. Louis, and I kind of shape this franchise after St. Louis in how they're so consistent and so they're so middle market. They're not large market and they're not small market. They have money. They do spend it here and there, but they just maintain themselves to be so low key, and that's just the franchise I aspire the Marlins to become, and I think they have the ability to do so with competent ownership. So we'll see what Bruce Sherman has in the tank for the Fish in the upcoming years. Jeter leaving is definitely, you know, an interesting topic there, and we'll get into that one with the Gary Dembo news we have coming up soon. But yeah, I do love the idea of the Marlins shaping up their franchise to be like St. Louis, um,
yeah,
city of
I agree.
Miami.
I agree with that because much like the Cardinals, they have a very loyal local fan base. Miami has the same thing as I've noticed. I've
Hmm.
paid attention to the Marlins a couple of times this year, and Marlins fans very, very passionate on social media.
Yeah,
So um, they have a very loyal fan base. And the thing that the Cardinals do so well that kind of flies under the radar is like their player development is like some of the best
bingo.
in the league, and that's something that the Marlins that's the route that they should take to become like a competitive team in the coming years, because there's some teams like they don't need to rely on player development. Teams like the Cardinals and the Marlins, those are the teams that succeed with their player development.
I agree with that, and that just brings up to the perfect point. That the Marlins, at least in their case, they have this advantage where they could invest in international talent, and they've shown it. Yidi Cape, they've shown it with Jose Fernandez, they've shown it with Marcelo Zuna, who also came in through the system. There's a lot of
Cardinals legend.
international talent. Cardo's legend. That's right. We'll get over that name again as well in another segment. But international talent just flourishes with Miami. Yuri Perez is currently the probably the biggest pitcher name in the Marlins farm system. Dude is only 19 years old, 6'5", and he's dotting bullets day in day out for the Pensacola Blue Wahoos in Double A. The fact that he's 19 in Double A and possibly hitting Triple A in the start of 2023, that's just nuts. And the Marlins have that ability to do, just that. The only concern for Miami is the hitting development, and that's the biggest red flag that the team currently has that the Cardinals have historically shown to have, you know, in their arsenal. They have good hitting, they have good pitching, and look at them. They're constant competitors in the NL Central. And sure, some may argue that the NL Central currently isn't shaping up to be the best division, but Milwaukee is a very difficult team to overcome, especially with very stacked pitching, and hitting comes in clutch for them here and there. The Cubs are rebuilding. The Pirates are starting to show some strides with O'Neill Cruz and Brian Reynolds and um, all these other prospects that they've shown that they want to call up. Then you have um, Cincinnati, who's just also rebuilding. So yeah, I think that pretty much covers the St. Louis and Marlins segment.
Disappeared for a second. Hold on.
Yeah, you're good.
Yeah, I want
Um,
to add to that though before we move on.
go for it.
Hold on. All right, so the NL Central is not a strong division right now. I mean, there's it's just
Yeah.
a race between these two teams, the Cardinals, the Brewers. Um, my camera's running here. Sorry about that.
Nah, you're good. You're good.
So yeah, the Brewers. I've actually, I might be biased, right? But
Hmm.
I'm not. I've never been too big on them, even like going into the season. Like their offense. Wow. Okay, hold on. Here we are. Okay, we're good. We're good. Uh, so yeah, the Brewers' offense is just it's not great. Their best hitter right now is probably Rowdy Tellez,
That's
but
crazy.
their their pitching is really their strength. They're
Hmm.
strong, very strong rotation, very strong bullpen.
Yep.
Um, but they have dealt with injuries. They've also benefited from one of the easiest schedules of up to this date, and they are only what a game and a half ahead the
Yeah.
Cardinals. And I think we're gonna win this division easily. And yeah, that's that's all I have to say. Okay, the
Okay.
Cardinals actually rotation needs a lot of help. Jack Flaherty came back, pitched like 2 games, and now he's hurt again.
Oh,
But yeah,
I will say Palante did pretty well against the Fish. He kind of figured them out quickly, and
yeah,
what's his name? Mikolas has been pretty good for you
yeah.
guys.
Michael is yeah.
Yeah, Michaelis and Wainwright is starting to hit the retirement home soon, but nothing. I don't know if I've ever seen that guy kind of collapse. He's just been good and consistent every year. He's just so good.
Yeah,
He's gonna hit the Hall of Fame.
Palante is one of those guys that the Cardinals player development has really like brought up and have has allowed to have success. Like not just defensively, like we have guys like Juan Yepes and Brandon Donovan who have come up and like immediately had an impact. Palante was on the opening day roster and he has been just great from day one, and it's just like the result of a great player development system, and just make like having a good clubhouse culture that allows
Hmm?
the young players to succeed.
Another thing I want to bring up, which brings me to my next point, is how good Ryan Helsey has been for you guys. As a matter of fact, it's just a match made in heaven that we're doing a pod between the Marlins and Cardinals. That the first guy that Ryan Helsley gave up a home run to was a Marlin, and not just a Marlin. It was this Marlin that I'm about to show you right now, and then we'll have Hero's thoughts on that.
Not going. As Avi goes after the first one, sends one high and deep center field. Back goes Carlson at the wall, and it's gone! A two-run home run for Avi Garcia with the Marlins down to their last out. They take a 4-3 lead.
So what do you have on that guy? And before you do that, I want to bring up how he's doing this season. Avisayo Garcia was signed to a 4-year, $53 million deal plus a buyout option the fifth year. He is hitting 227 with a 68 OPS plus, 598 OPS, a slugging of 335, and an OBP of 263. That's just the numbers for Avisayo Garcia. He's posted a negative zero point 0.6 WAR for the team. He hasn't really contributed to much of anything. So the fact that he was able to do that in the final out of the game to give Sandy a win is just incredible. And hopefully this is the sign of change for Avi. But what you got on that?
Yeah, it just makes me upset that he had to make me watch that again. Um, yeah, I mean, it was Ryan Helsley obviously has been like probably the best reliever in the National League this year
Yeah,
up until that home run. um, and I can't really be too upset. You know, it was a well managed game. Helsley has been great all year. That's actually the first time Helsley was allowed to like pitch back to back, like for back to back save opportunities, and that's the result. So I mean, um,
I
yeah,
think the biggest
Avisail Garcia.
factor.
If I'm looking at his numbers against the Cardinals, I always remember him like having huge home runs against us when he was with the Brewers and all that.
Yeah,
Um, and I mean, I'm looking at his numbers now, and they're pretty good. They're not like amazing out
crazy.
of the water, but
Hmm.
he has 8 home runs in 35 games, which is that's that's pretty good number. He has 815 OPS against us. I just feel like every time, every one of those home runs has been like in a big spot. You know,
Yeah.
like I don't have any fond memories of Avisail Garcia at Bush Stadium. So
Oh, I think you just acquired one for the ages for sure with that one. I think the craziest part was just how pumped up the fans were to get that win going in and head home happy. And Avisayo Garcia just shut Bush Stadium down.
I
It
like
was
how they immediately pan to Sandy and he's just he's just clapping.
he's just clapping. And I don't know if you've been watching Marlins games, but there was a game against the Phillies which Don Mattingly took him out of, and Sandy was pissed. It was the same situation. He was around the eighth, ninth inning. There was a man on third. It was going to be credited to Sandy if he gave up that run. There was two outs, and Don Mattingly decided to take him out of the game. While he suggested over and over, "Hey, let me in," and uh, and Don Mattingly just simply didn't. He got rid of him and he put Steven Oker, which is one of our relievers, and he gave up an immediate hit, which gave Sandy an earned run. Sandy was pissed. He started punching, things around the dugout, smashing some water bottles and whatnot. But and that's when in many instances you just gotta trust your guy. You gotta trust your ace, and Sandy Alcantara showed it last night that he could still go out there, throw 9 innings, and he's gonna look like John Smoltz. Like that,
Yeah.
that's literally the comparison you could throw to Sandy Alcantara, and that's just wild that we're sitting here in 2022 with a guy who has a bunch of complete games and has shown literally no signs of stopping. What do you got on Sandy?
Yeah, if I'm not mistaken, Don Mattingly had full intention to take him out of the game last night after he gave up the hit to Connor Capel,
Yeah,
and then
yeah.
but then I'm pretty sure Sandy was like very aggressively pleading his case, you know, and I was hoping they took him out honestly, but I guess Don Mattingly made the right decision. Let him finish the game.
Yep.
Sandy is former Cardinal, you know. I think that's it just hurts thinking that's like the worst trade that we have made in recent history. But at the time, it wasn't like Marcelo Zuna. He had a great year in 2017, and I was like, "This is great. We're getting this guy. You know, a lineup that needed offensive production." Ozuna was almost an MVP the year before. I didn't think much of it, but at the same time, I'm happy for Sandy because ever like he just had success ever since, and I've always rooted for him, and he's probably the Cy Young of the NL right now. Like if the season
Yeah,
ended today, he's the best pitcher like by far. Because the thing is, no one is giving innings like Sandy. This year, there's been a lot of like inning saving. They don't want to leave him out
right.
there for too long because of the lockout, short spring training, all that. But Sandy, he's been going out there. He's been giving the team innings. He has the most innings in in MLB right now, and still has a sub 2 ERA. It's just unreal.
And that's where the comparisons to John Smoltz, Tom Glavine, Greg Maddux comes in with Sandy. And you said it. Like this guy is going out there firing bullets, and he's still maintaining those just amazing numbers. And the fact that we're sitting here talking about a guy who's doing that in this current modern day of baseball, which where more most pitchers go out there, as you said, just to kill a couple innings, 5, 6 innings, and then they go straight to the bullpen. This guy, I mean, this guy is an animal. He's a beast. He's a monster. He's a workhorse. I don't know if you knew this, but every single game after Sandy starts, he goes straight to the training room for 2 whole hours, and he does some intense training. Like the dude doesn't. There's no quit in Sandy. It's literally um, full throttle. He's addressed that his goal every single year is to pitch over 200 innings and throw over 150 pitches if he has to in a game. He's literally come out and said that. There's been a whole segment on him, a very nice segment on MLB Network with Mike Lowell and Al Leiter as they go over Sandy's crazy, insane stuff. He throws pitches over 101 miles per hour once he's got like 90 pitches in. That's just insane for a pitcher at his age. And the worries that come into Sandy is, hey, the Marlins are giving him, they're putting this guy in too many times to pitch late games. But Sandy doesn't care. He goes out there, does his job, and he comes right back. He always got his glove hanging when the side is retired. He heads back to the dugout. Full class. The dude is just full class. He is he is playing to what the Marlins have paid him in the off season, but probably times five. The fact that the Marlins got a team friendly deal for this ace is just phenomenal. And like you said, a perfect example is Tony Gonsolin, who's been phenomenal for the Dodgers. He's pitched very few innings though, so um, I think Sandy is the All Star game starter.
Yeah, I have to agree with that. And another thing about Sandy is he's 20. He's only 26 years old. He already has like 3 seasons as like he was a very good pitcher, and
Mhm.
then last year he kind of established himself more of like an ace caliber
Yeah,
pitcher, and this year he's already got like his career high in WAR. He's already improved so much. He's only 26. He's on a team friendly deal. And then another thing about Sandy is he has like incredible stuff, and his strikeouts are only about league average, but
yeah,
he's he's a guy that's able to keep improving. And imagine if he becomes like a high strikeout guy, because he definitely has the stuff to do so. He has velocity. He's able to go deep into games. We're looking at one of the best pitchers in the league, like in the coming years for sure.
absolutely. I mean, man, props to Sandy. The dude literally came out of the nothing. You could look back at pictures. Sandy looked like an absolute child when he came into the Marlins organization in 2018, and he's emerged himself to be one hell of a pitcher, one hell of a person. He's really learned a lot. He's matured. He's a team leader. He's a team leader every single time he does not pitch. He's always with Pablo. He's always with the guys talking about his stuff. Um, yeah, the guy is just insane. I mean,
Got a great
anybody.
beard.
He's got a nice facial hair. So um, he's just crazy. I just want to give another shout out here to another hero that we kind of skipped on, Nick Fortes, man. Like Nick Fortes has just been crazy for this Marlins team. He came clutch on a game that was broadcasted on Peacock for the first time for the Marlins against the New York Mets. Mets are looking for the sweep, and Nick Fortes said, "Not so fast with this
That
one."
was full extension. 0-1 to Fortes. It's hit well. Deep to left. Way back. Nick Fortes has walked it off for the Marlins. They come pouring out of the third base dugout. The rookie catcher Fortes with his first big league walk-off homer. It's his third of the season, and the Marlins stun the Mets 3-2.
That guy has just come out of absolutely nowhere last year in late 2021 as a September call-up. He's filled the hole of Alex Jackson that the Marlins had, and man, Alex Jackson was just horrible. Then they had Sandy Leon, who was just horrible. Chad Wallach, horrible. Um, it's just an improvement. Like you're starting to see actual improvement from this Marlins team. They traded for Jacob Stallings in the offseason, and Jacob Stallings has really not shown pretty much anything for the Marlins this year. So to get, a nice breath of fresh air with Nick Fortes, it's just incredible. Florida native, come here and he's just swinging the bat. The Marlins need to protect this guy. He is a potential catcher of the future for this club, and man, if he could start next year, phenomenal. And then you got Paul McIntosh coming in real soon in AAA. Joe Mack coming in from his injury next year as well. Gotta hope he does good as well. There's just so much to be excited with Nick Fortes. He just swings the ball so well. I don't know if you're looking at his stuff here, but man, his splits for the span that he's played, he has really come in and shown so much. As a matter of fact, I'll pull them out right now.
Yeah,
40
it's
at bats, 12 hits. He's hitting 300, 174 OPS plus, and his OPS is at 979. That's insane for Nick Fortes. And I know it's a small sample size. He had another small sample last year with the team as well. But he's so good. He's
Yeah, I'm
so
looking
good.
at his numbers, and it's very impressive. And for the small sample size, it does show that he has some power because he hit 4 home runs in 14 games last year. He had an OPS of 1030. This year he's got very similar numbers. So over the 28 game sample so far, he's been really good. But what stands out to me is he only has 13 strikeouts in 81 major league plate appearances, and I know people will say like strikeouts don't matter, and I agree. Strikeouts same thing as like a ground out, but something that is encouraging about a player that doesn't strike out is that their success is more sustainable
Yeah,
as opposed to someone who swings and misses a lot more.
you said it. And the fact that he's got like a walk ratio just as similar as his strikeout ratio. He's got 8 walks in his major league career so far in the small sample that he's played. Even in Jacksonville, the AAA team, and in his minor league career, Nick Fortes is just your average sub player that you just slap in here and there. But the second he touches the major leagues, Nick Fortes is a whole monster. He's just incredible. His defense is actually really good. It's actually improved from last year. He's been framing the ball really good. He's been a nice battery mate to some of the pitchers that we have up currently. Um, Hopefully, he gets some reps with Trevor Rogers. That's kind of what I want to see. Trevor Rogers having a down year, so hopefully that battery mate between the two works. It's not working with Stallings. Stallings has worked really well with Sandy and Pablo, but not so much with Rogers, a guy who was literally the runner-up and, in my opinion, the NL Rookie of the Year last year for the National League. But man, Rogers has really not figured, you know, whatever flaws he's been having this year. Um, but yeah, that was that. There's some love to Nick Fortes. That guy is just really really good. So we move on to our next topic, and that is Gary Dembo, the Marlins vice president of, I believe it was their vice president of player development and scouting, Gary Dembo. He is, he was parting ways with the team, aka fired, reported by Craig Mish, and Dembo was obviously Derek Jeter's second in command when they took over the team. As we all know, Derek Jeter did back off from the Marlins at the start of the 2022. Obviously, for the Marlins not wanting to sign specific players in the offseason, and Bruce Sherman just being a little bit more conservative with the team, not really liking the trajectory that the team had moving forward. Um, the surprise for me is that Gary Dembo was even a lot. He stayed with the team for quite some time. I think it was overdue. Gary Dembo just hasn't done a good job outside of the pitching side. Um, he's brought Miami some really nice pitching pieces, but I've said this in Sean Milleric's pod. The thing with having good pitching is that you have to find balance between both. You can't just depend on full out pitching and no hitting. That you just can't win games like that. So for for the Marlins to find, hopefully someone new, maybe Adrian Lorenzo, even though the draft is coming up soon, to uh replace him, it's probably the right move to go. The Marlins invested $4+ million each to sign Connor Scott, Victor Mesa, JJ Bleday, and Khalil Watson, who have really underachieved. They haven't really shown us anything. Connor Scott was traded for uh, Jacob Stallings. Victor Mesa has just been pathetic. JJ Bleday is starting to pick up the power numbers. He's been okay. He might get the call in September. Khalil Watson, one of the most anticipated, draft picks last year, first rounder, just fell off a cliff. He's been terrible in low A, and there's been obviously some personality issues with Khalil Watson fighting with the umpires and really not trusting himself there. So Gary Dembo, man, it was an overdue move, I'd say. Um, Pablo Lopez, Yuri Perez, who came in during his span, Max Meyer, Trevor Rogers, Jesus Luzardo, Jake Eater, Dax Fulton, other guys that they took a look at, who the Marlins are pretty much investing on for the long term. But yeah, and this ties in with the Cardinals, how good development brings you wins. And when you can't find the balance between pitching and hitting, those are red flags. Those are incredible red flags for a team. But what do you got on that?
Yeah, I mean, I think the Marlins player development has obviously hasn't been great, like
Hmm.
ever since the rebuild, Um, but I think it's a big step forward. I mean, the Marlins, they're a team that's on the rise. I expected them to be at least above 500 this year,
Hmm.
but it's
Yeah,
fine because the Marlins they have Jazz Chisholm. He's gonna be a superstar. He's injured now, but that's for now. But he's yeah, the Marlins. Like I said earlier, player development for a team like the Marlins is gonna be key to like winning, and not just like winning 1 year, and then losing and then winning again. The
exactly.
Cardinals, they have been able to stay at least competitive for like the past decade plus, and it's
Yeah.
thanks to player development mostly. Because you think about guys like the Cardinals have brought up that have become really good big league players, like Matt Carpenter. He was never like a top prospect. He had a great career with the Cardinals. Now he's in New York hitting
In New
home
York.
runs. But they've always developed those type of guys like Matt Carpenter, Paul DeYoung, Tommy Edmonds, those type of players that no one really scouted. Even Albert Pujols, he wasn't a top prospect. He just
Hmm.
they developed him like 3,000th pick in the draft. Now he's gonna be a Hall of Famer. But um, you have to have that if you're gonna have like repeated success. And the Marlins need to get someone to run their scouting, their player development that will bring that success. You know, bring those players and even top prospects. You have to have those too. I know JJ Bleday and Khalil Watson. They were very very like high tier prospects out of the draft. They haven't quite panned out yet, but you know I was very high on Bleday out of college, but
Yeah, I
he
think the Marlins learned a lesson there.
yeah. I think you know they're gonna figure it out. The Marlins are a team that's on the come up.
That is the hope, man. Like, there's been a lot of skepticism with this front office, especially now that Kim Ng has full control of the team. Craig Mish on his last pod on Swings and Mishes said that he even suspects that Gary Dembo barely even made moves last year, and it was all Kim Ng in 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 2021. So she was probably the person behind all of the trade deadline trades that the Marlins made, which for the most part were disasters off from the beginning. Getting Alex Jackson for Adam freaking Duvall, which is just baffling to me. But it goes to show you, good development is just the right way to move, especially for a team like the Marlins. You got guys who have a lot of upside, high ceilings, and they're just not playing up to par because poor development. Marlins hitting department has been pretty shady. And, finally we're having some guys showing some strides like Griffin Conine, son of Jeff Conine over at Double A. He's been pretty good. Um, Other than that, it's pretty hard to process names right off the bat because most of them are just doing okay. There's not really much that stick out. Maybe Troy Johnston is a good one to bring up, but as of right now, I think it's Conine who's really shown off and done some nice
You know,
contributions.
I'm looking forward to what the Marlins will do in a few weeks when the MLB draft comes around with the sixth pick.
Yeah,
Then a draft that's honestly pretty stacked. Like there's a lot of really good prospects in this draft. So it's gonna be interesting to see. I'm really wondering who they're gonna pick, and I want to follow how their career goes, how they develop. Hopefully, you know, a lot better pick than recent years.
yeah, absolutely. I believe they have pick number 6
Yeah,
in the
this number
draft.
six pick.
They have the sixth draft. I've seen a lot of Jacob Berry, Tamar Johnson, I think is his last
Yeah, you can't
name.
really go wrong. If you have a top 10 pick, you're gonna get a really good player in the draft.
That that is something that Miami has really uh had for these past couple of years. JJ Bleday came out for third overall, and everybody in that draft class, if I'm looking at it correctly, I'll pull it up real quick. JJ Bleday was drafted in the 2019 draft.
Yeah.
In that draft, Adley, major leagues. Bobby Witt, major leagues. Andrew Vaughn, major leagues. Riley Green, major leagues.
CJ
The top,
Abrams.
CJ Abrams is another one, but he's in AAA still, I believe.
Yeah, but he's been up and down.
He's been up and down. Like, Bleday hasn't even smelled the major leagues yet. Like, that just goes to show you that, the Marlins are a bit behind there in their first round picks. And not so much on the pitching side, but definitely on the offensive side. And this is an outfielder who could help contribute to this team in the future. Marlins invested a $6.6 million bonus on JJ Bleday's signing. Another name, Nick Rodolo on the Reds. Like, there's some work to be done on this Marlins organization, and I think going front office heavy, starting with those retool, is the way to go. It really is. Um,
Max Meyer still hopefully has a good chance, you know, to pan out. But you know, we're looking more like offensively. The Marlins have not had the player development.
Absolutely, and I like that you mentioned Meyer because that was one of Dembo's guys, and to his credit, he was pretty good at bringing us pitchers and bringing us talent on the pitching side. Um, Yuri Perez soon being compared to Jose Fernandez and Josh Johnson, who are the two best Marlins pitchers ever in franchise history. So we're getting someone hyped at that young age. It's just unbelievable. Um, yeah. Hopefully, whoever comes in, maybe Adrian Lorenzo or someone else comes into this team and turns it around for Miami is honestly the hope and the wish for most Marlins fan, if not all of them. Um, we'll see what happens. And our next topic is one that a lot of fans have really been lately going after, and that's the Marlins deadline. The Marlins are currently sitting at 34 and 40. They're a couple games behind, but they're about to enter a July in which has them playing a lot of sub 500 teams. Those teams being the Pittsburgh Pirates, the Cincinnati Reds, the Oakland Athletics, the Washington Nationals, and they got a couple of tough ones in there. But if they could kind of show some consistency, take two of three, one of three, two of three, and avoid getting swept in those series, Miami is looking pretty good entering August, which is where the trade deadline is going to be held. So Marlins are playing 4 games against the Nationals, which I will be in the first game tomorrow in live in DC. You'll be seeing that on my Twitter at Marlins John. Um, Followed by a 2 game series against the Angels, a team who has struggled. That's going to be fun, by the way. Hopefully, the stadium gets a little bit packed for that one. Shohei and Trout in Miami. That hasn't really been common in the past few years. Um, then you have the Mets coming in for 4 games. That's going to be tough. Marlins got to at least take two, maybe one against the Mets. They're just tough to bet against. And then the Marlins enter 4 games against the Pirates. You got to hope for three or a complete sweep of the Pirates, followed by the Phillies, the Rangers, Pirates again, Reds, Mets, Reds, and then Cubs. That's the other team. Like this team could really turn things around, turn the ship around. They don't have a closer. Go ahead and go get your closer. A couple names I want to bring out for the Marlins on possible trades. It starts with this guy right here, Marlins first baseman Jesus Aguilar, and we love Aguilar. Like he's really contributed big time to this team in the 2020 playoffs, putting the team back on the map. But he really hasn't really shown much of anything to the Marlins this year, and many fans believe, which I agree with, he should have been traded this offseason, and the Marlins should have invested in Lewin Diaz to be the everyday first baseman. But another name to bring out is a longtime Marlin, Brian Anderson, a guy who's pretty much being blocked in the infield. You got Jazz at second. Joey Wendell could play anywhere in the infield. Miguel Rojas is at short. It's very tough to slot Anderson anywhere on this lineup, and I'm sure a team out there, a contending team, would like his presence. He provides versatility, and he could play. He could play anywhere. He could play left field, right field, the whole infield. He's a good pick. Another guy is Anthony Bass, who's coming into his best season with the Fish after a very dreadful one last year. He's pitched to an amazing ERA of if I'm correct, it is a 1.74 ERA with a WHIP of literally just one. He's been elite off the bullpen for the Marlins this year. And lastly, another guy that I could see the Marlins dealing is the lefty Steven Okert, who's posting a 2.28 ERA with a 1.56 WHIP off the pen as well. So definitely a lot of targets for the Marlins. It really depends if they're going to go sell heavy or buy heavy, or they're going to probably balance and go hybrid between the two and try to blend in, buy and sell while trying to retool and put this team back on the map on the at least on the 500 side. So, what do you think on that trade deadline possibilities?
Yeah, I think the most valuable piece for the Marlins right now would definitely be Brian Anderson. I think he could bring back the most return. Like he has some years of control. He's a very talented player. He's a third baseman. There are some contenders around the league that don't even have like a set third baseman. Brian Anderson, he has been very solid for the Marlins for multiple years. Um, I think Aguilar definitely someone that should be traded. He probably will be traded actually. Um, I don't know. I don't know how far his value would go, but just move him somewhere.
Right, I
Yeah,
agree with
and
that.
I think the Marlins should go for something like, if I'm thinking in recent memory, like how the Nationals did last year, where they sold, but it wasn't like a setup for a deep rebuild. It's like just like the Cubs did as well. They got a lot of young pieces, but not like
Hmm.
prospects to develop, but like players to plug into a lineup like right now. And that's something the Marlins could do. They could get a lot of young players that are like borderline ready for the big leagues, and have a revamped roster by the time August comes by.
That's a good point. That's a good point because Craig Mish also said that on Swings and Mishes. He said the Marlins, if they're going to buy, it shouldn't be for 2 month rentals. The Marlins have way too many guys on arbitration, and which are scheduled for arbitration. I meant,
Yeah,
and getting young guys who are going to have control, just like they did with Starling Marte last year and acquiring Jesus Luzardo, who had 6 years of control. So I think that's kind of the route the Marlins should go. Rentals, I don't think is ideal for this team. Even if they want to go contend, they should definitely be looking for the long term guys. Guys are going to be here for a couple years. Remember, it's the Marlins we're dealing with here. Money and Marlins don't go well together. But I think that outside of the deadline, entering the offseason, the Marlins will be making a move to trade away Joey Wendell because the Marlins have just an overflow of just arbitration guys, and Joey Wendell is one of them. And it wouldn't surprise me if Stallings is another. Bunch of guys who are just listed there, and they have to go to all of these cases. Which and Pablo Lopez is another one who they might go ahead and invest to extend. So definitely is going to be an interesting one there for the fish. Um, and maybe another target that was brought up to me is utility player John Birdie. I think he's right behind Tommy Edman, I guess, in the standings for best utility player in the MLB. This guy is just secretly valuable to any contender. He is just so good. He's put the ball in play. He's good defender.
fast.
What do you think on him? Fast. There you go.
Yeah.
What?
I'm glad you brought up Wendell and Birdie, because I actually was just looking at both of them, and I looked at just the Marlins, their players in general. They do have a lot of
Mhm.
arbitration eligible players, and I was looking if they had any, like, someone they could trade away, any rental players they could trade away. Um, they Jorge Soler, unfortunately, someone they're gonna have to be stuck with for a while.
Yep.
Um, but yeah, I think John Birdie is actually a very valuable player. He could play many positions, infield, outfield. He's fast. That's the type of player that a contending team, like, I could definitely see John Birdie on the Yankees.
Yeah.
They've had that type of player a lot. Teams like the Yankees and the Red Sox, they really like their utility guys, and I think utility players are like instrumental for like a championship team. And John Birdie would be an upgrade over someone like Marwin Gonzalez, who's on the Yankees right now. You know, he's
I agree to that.
Joey Wendell's the same type of player, utility guy, multiple positions. He also reminds me of Tommy Edman. He was an All Star last year. He's arbitration eligible, so he's got years. That's also could bring back a very good package of young players, for the coming years.
Mhm. No, I just love John Birdie. What he's been able to do, while Wendell and Anderson have been injured, he's provided a huge impact bat, and he's really shown us that he's probably the actual legitimate starter for this team. I mean, as a leadoff hitter, he's been really good. He's swiping bags. And as a matter of fact, John Birdie broke a Marlins all-time record. He stole, I believe, 21 bases without getting caught consecutively, tying Luis Castillo back in 2001, I believe was the year. It was an amazing trot that Birdie had going, and man, good for the guy. It's nice to see him finally getting some
Yeah,
love that he deserves.
John Birdie this year, he's actually on a nearly 6 WAR pace on this. If he played a full 162 games, that's like elite level stuff. Like, this is a very valuable player, and if the Marlins do trade him, I mean, it's a tough loss, but you're building for the future, And
Hmm?
Birdie, he's 32. He's a guy that you'd like to keep around, because he's like an element for a winning team.
Yeah,
But it's not the Marlins are, in my opinion, they're not gonna be winning like this year or next year. So you
right.
have to think about like further in the future.
All right, that's a good one right there. Good analogy there, and it's just amazing to see how Birdie has brought himself to that level. It's just crazy. He was just a bench guy last year, and
I'm
he's
actually a
really
big John Birdie fan. I've been a fan of him for a while.
he's amazing. He's freaking amazing. He just came from the Toronto Blue Jays, if
Yeah,
I'm correct, 2018, and the Marlins were able to snag him. I think it was in waivers, or I think we signed him as a free agent. Can't remember now, but man, he's been so good to
he
this team.
was
A huge contributor.
he was signed as a free agent. Yeah,
Ah, there you go. But man, he plays it all. I think he
and
has 22 stolen bases this year, and he's only gotten caught like twice, if I remember.
he's only making $1,200,000 this year. Like that's incredible value for his skill set. That's
Yeah, a- and for that salary, it's just so team friendly. And man, he puts it on the field, and that brings us to guys who we want on the field in Hollywood for the upcoming All Star game. And for the Marlins, I'll have you do your segment on your Cardinals. For the Marlins, I have Jazz Chisholm in second. God willing, he comes back after his IL stint, and he comes back doing what he does. Jazz being Jazz, dude is just phenomenal. Um, at the second person I want in the All Star game for the Marlins is hopefully the starter of the NL, Sandy Alcantara. I mean, wow, that guy. I know we just spoke about him, but it just amazes me to see him develop into the guy that he's really developed into. And man, it's amazing that the Marlins finally have that amazing stud pitcher. Because could you remember if you could you
best.
imagine that old core with Sandy Alcantara? Oh my
Yeah,
God,
he's the best Marlins pitcher since Jose Fernandez. Imagine
since
if
Jose,
those two in the rotation at the same time
man,
with that lineup. It would have been big
it would have
things.
been crazy.
Yeah,
It would have been nuts
that's safe.
because
The NL East is crazy enough already, but
it really is.
it'd be a
It really is.
five-team competition right now. Well, not the
Absolutely.
Nationals. I forgot about them. Forget the Nationals.
But man, um, the third All Star I want to see out there is Garrett Cooper following Harper's injury. I've been a huge advocate on my Twitter. I'm sure many of you know who are watching this. My last tweet about Garrett Cooper was actually, "Good morning. Today's a great day to vote Garrett Cooper into the All Star game. Go ahead. What are you waiting for?" And I will say that you guys got to go vote Cooper into the All Star game. Dude deserves it. It's warranted that it's a it's a it's a celebrity contest at the end of the day. But you know who are you hurting by trying? If you try, show the guy that he deserves it. I think players do look at this type of stuff and they see, man, I'm hitting the field for a reason, and even if I don't make the All Star game, which is a lot less valuable to a player than it was back then, but it still shows that hey, you're doing your job right. You deserve it. Like not everybody does their job right in the major leagues, and it's not an easy job to be in. And Garrett Cooper, with the age that he's at, man, he's so amazing. What do you got on Cooper?
Unfortunately, John, the phase one voting ended earlier
Yeah,
today, and we have guys like Adam Duvall and his 628 OPS as a finalist, as well as Ozzy Albies hasn't been great. He's a finalist at second base. Um, Braves fans, they kind of messed up the voting, but I think we're gonna get the starters right anyways. It just sucks that some guys missed their chance. Gain some more votes. Garrett Cooper should definitely be, getting consideration. There's William Contreras, I think, is the second DH behind Bryce Harper right now. and he's been pretty good. I don't want to take away from that, but it definitely helps that the Braves fans are voting like the 2015 Kansas City Royals right now.
The
Um,
2016 Cubs.
yeah. Um, but yeah, I don't know. At the end
I'm
of the
glad.
day, that's what the fan voting is for, I guess. But I think we'll see Cooper in LA in the coming weeks. I think he'll be there. He deserves it.
Man, I love the optimism there. I've been a huge Cooper fan since day one.
The All Star rosters they do change a lot. Like from the initial roster that they announced,
Yeah.
there's gonna be a lot of injuries or like people that just drop out, want to take the day off.
Hmm.
So there's a lot of chances for players like Cooper to make the team and play. Win MVP stuff like that.
That would actually be amazing. I mean, the last time the Marlins have had more than one All Star was 2017. It was Marcelo Zuna and Giancarlo
Stanton,
Stanton.
yeah.
And before that, more than two players was 2016. That was Giancarlo Stanton, Christian Yelich, no, Giancarlo Stanton, Christian Yelich, Fernando Rodney, and AJ Ramos. They had four All Stars that year, and they had traded for Fernando Rodney, so he was technically a San Diego Padres All Star, but he already
Yeah,
got
there
traded
was
to Miami.
Jose Fernandez was an All Star that year too.
Jose was another All Star as well. Oh wow, you're right. You're right. And Stanton took home the home run derby title as well
Yeah.
that year. So it was a good year for Miami. It kind of sucks that they didn't win 80 games. I think they were a game shy of it. Um, but man, it's amazing to see Coop finally getting that love, getting the support. Guys actually representing, giving him some votes, and we'll see where he goes. Hopefully, he's heading to Hollywood real soon. That'll be music to my ears for sure, given my background right there. Um, and and we'll head to our final segment in this pod.
Wait,
We
wait.
got
Before we move on from
3 minutes.
the All Stars, I
Oh, go
wanna
for it.
I wanna talk about some
Your
Cardinal All
Cardinals,
Stars. Yeah.
right? Yeah, I forgot about that.
So we know Paul Goldschmidt's gonna start first base. We know that Arenado might start
Yeah.
at third because Manny's injured.
Mhm.
Um, Tommy Edman, he's gonna be on the roster. Miles Michaelis, he'll be there. But I want you. No, I promise nobody outside of St. Louis, except for me, probably. I don't live in St. Louis, knows about Brendan Donovan. Like I want you to look at his numbers, and then if you can put it on the screen, you can do that too.
I'll do that in a
Because
second. Oh wow. Yeah, he's doing pretty good.
he's a
I'll,
rookie.
I'll pull him
He's
up right now. Let me see. All right, give me a second. Here are Brendan Donovan's numbers. Wait, coming up a little bit. There we go. Oh shoot, let me get rid of that. There we go.
so yeah, he has a 145 OPS plus as a rookie. Like people don't realize this, but if the season ended today, this is the rookie of the year. He's batting 307. He doesn't strike out. He actually, well, he's been striking out a lot more lately, but there was a point where he had more walks than strikeouts. Him and Juan Soto were the only ones who did that basically.
Wow.
He's has OPS plus 145. He doesn't have much power, but he's like a singles hitter, doubles. He has great energy. He deserves to be an all-star. He's gonna be rookie of the year if he keeps it up. I didn't even want to talk about the Cardinal All-Stars. We already know who they are. I
Mhm.
just wanted to talk about Brendan Donovan.
No, I'm actually really glad that you brought up his name. I think the one thing that sticks out for me is that he's German, so that's
Yeah, I was
awesome.
gonna. It's not very
Getting
many German-born players here.
not at all.
I think it's
Last
just him and
German,
Max Kepler, no?
yeah, yeah. The last German to hit the field for the Marlins was Jeff Baker, and that was forever ago,
Yeah, that's a while ago.
2016. Um, but man, I love that you brought up Brendan Donovan. Rookie who makes the All Star game is a huge accomplishment and nice to add to his resume. Um, he was drafted by the Cardinals in the seventh round in
Yeah,
2018,
he's another
and
one of those guys, that the player development got
yeah,
right. Yeah,
and he's really emerged himself as a very competent player. And you know, as a Marlins fan, that's the type of stuff we want to see. We want to see this type of stuff in the Marlins. They have to be reluctant to call up guys, give them a shot, see how they do, whether good or bad. They can't be calling up Williams Astudillo, Luke Williams, and expecting wonders. That's not how it works. You got to call up Charles LeBlanc, got to call up Paul McIntosh, got to give these guys some shots, see how they do. Um, and that was my frustration with the Marlins a couple pods ago. I'm sure you guys remember that when me and Kevin took the show and we went over the Marlins' obvious issues. So now we will take this to our last segment in this podcast, and that is the upcoming series for the Marlins. So looking at our 2022 schedule for the Fish, I will pull it up in just a second. Marlins got some I guess some layaway is the proper wording there because in that schedule, they're going to be playing some teams that aren't really going to be competing, which is kind of ironic for the Marlins. But it's teams that the Marlins got to go out there and show that they want to win, so they could be buyers in the trade deadline. I'll pull up the schedule in just a second. Obviously, with the All Star game looming, that's going to be another fun thing to watch for the Fish. It's finally refreshing to see the Marlins in conversations for All Stars. Like the Marlins 2 years ago, you tell them who Sandy Alcantara was, everybody would be like, "Who?" Well, now he's really emerged himself as an amazing player.
Yeah,
So
everyone
here's
knows
the
who
upcoming
Sandy
schedule.
is.
I'm sure they do, and man, he deserves it. He deserves everything. He's phenomenal. Now, here are the upcoming games. Marlins have a 4-game series against the Washington Nationals in DC. I'll be at the first one on Friday, firework night. It's going to be fun. First time in Nationals Park. I'm predicting that the Marlins will take 3 of 4 in that series. I feel like you can never predict sweep. It doesn't matter who the team is. You just can never predict sweep. It's just too hard to bet against. Um, so I'm gonna go 3 of 4 against the Nationals there. That should move the Marlins record to 38 and 40. 38 and 41 with that series. So moving on to 34 and 41, they played 2 games against the Angels, who have struggled, and I predict a split between those two. Marlins will finish that series off 35-42, and then they head over to the Mets series for 4. Unfortunately for that one, I do see the Marlins taking 1 of 3. That's the things that suck about 4-game series. That will put the Marlins at 36 and 45. So
You
they
gotta
are
redo your
currently.
math there. You messed up.
Did I?
Yeah.
Where am I at? What am I at?
So
Think I'm
you said 3 or 4 from Washington, right?
right.
So I put him at 37 and 41.
Oh, you're right. 37 and
Yeah.
41. That's what screwed me over. All right. So let's redo it. So we got 37 and 41. Then we got 38 and 42 after the Angels. And now here we go. 1 of 3 against the Mets will put the Marlins at 39 and 45, which is, relatively closer than I honestly thought. But here's when things start to kind of turn around for the Marlins. Marlins are going to be playing 4 games against the Pirates. Another series, you got to take 3. So I'm also predicting the Marlins take 3 of 4 in that series against the Pirates. Obviously, a team that you can't really bet that much against anymore. O'Neal Cruz is going to be a stud. Brian Hayes, Brian Reynolds, all fun players to watch. So I'm going to go and give them 3, and that'll put them at 42 and 46, I believe. Uh, yes. Okay. And then they got the Phillies. Now with the Phillies, yes, solid team, but they never really fared well in Lone Depot Park. And that's where we will end predictions. I do think the Marlins will take. Oh, it's a 4 game against the Phillies. Oh no, no, never mind. I misread. 3 game. I have them taking 2 of 3. So I have the Marlins finishing 44 and 47 before the All Star break, and that is my prediction. I
It's
have
pretty good.
them pretty relatively close, hovering closer to the All Star break. and I'll take it to Hero from here. See what you got.
Um, I think if you're anywhere around 500 in the All Star break, you're in a pretty good position. Obviously, you'd rather be above or like leading your division. But I'm a Cardinals fan.
Absolutely.
I've the last couple of years, 2019 we were like 500 or like a game below at the end of the All Star game, and then Jack Flaherty had like the craziest second half, and then we ended up winning the division. 2020, we shared the COVID issues with the Marlins as well, and
Yeah.
we finished like we were like never 2 games above or below, more than 2 games above 500. But they ended up going to the playoffs, both teams. So just you got to stay around 500 at this point, and I think this Marlins schedule allows that. So it's pretty good if your predictions come true and the Marlins are trying to buy at the deadline, then that's a good spot to be in by on July 19th. Being
And
three
if
games below or whatever it is.
yeah, yeah, and if I'm being honest, you know, um Marlins entered the second half playing one game against the Texas
Yeah, I
Rangers,
was
and
gonna.
then they go straight to playing the Pirates and the Reds again. It's another 4 game series against a team who's sub 500. This is the time for the Marlins to really get it going, because in August they start the month playing the Reds, the Cubs, and then they will play eventually the Oakland Athletics again. So this is their time. This is when the Marlins should really have that wake up call. Hey guys, we got to win some games. We got to get ourselves back to 500 so we could be buyers and we could put this team back into the postseason. And especially with the extended postseason, which I'm huge favor for, it connects more markets together. And you got to take advantage of these opportunities, and that's what they did in 2020. Why not in 2022? So, what you think there?
Yeah, I think the extended postseason also does give them a great chance. They're not that far behind the other teams in their division, like the Phillies and the Braves. It's not like completely over. The Marlins they've been good enough to stay in the race with those teams, and so it just takes like a good 2 weeks, and be right back in it. That's all it takes. It's baseball. It's a long season. So I mean, if you're a Marlins fan, you're like, oh, the season's over, or you're like, we're not doing anything this year. Don't like, don't hang up your hat. Don't like give up on the team because it's
I
like it's a good stretch of games and a good chances to win, and they just have to perform. That's the thing. If the team is able to hang around 500 for the next for that stretch of games, and they reach the deadline as a 500 team, then there's a good chance that they could at least, at the very least, compete for a playoff spot.
You said it. Wow. We appreciate the love there to the fish. You heard it, fans. A lot of you, including myself, I will admit, I have I have really um been on the lows of lows being a Marlins fan. And then again, many people understand that, it's just how it is being a Marlins fan, given all the stuff that this team has gone through throughout the decades. And the Marlins want to win. These fans are tired of it. I'm tired of it. We want to see this team win. And you said it. We said it since the beginning. Development, consistency, and not giving up on your team. That's just how you put a winner on the field. And you nailed it. You nailed it. That's how you do it. But man, this will wrap it up right here. We are currently at 1 minute and 8 seconds.
An
Um.
hour and 8 minutes.
Whoa! Oh man,
It's a very short podcast.
that's a really short podcast. We are in an hour and 9 minutes. Holy crap! Not only is my math bad, I can't tell time. Oh my goodness! Wow. That's probably gonna be clipped by someone, and I'm gonna get freaking flamed by it. But because I'm not cutting that. I think that's gonna be golden in the future. But yeah, we are in an hour and 9 minutes. We're gonna cut it off right here. We thank you all for joining. Hero, thank you for being a part of it. You
Yeah,
have
thank you
been
for
a
having me,
great guest.
bro.
No problem, dude. We'll probably have you in the future for another thing related to the NL Central or to the Cardinals in some capacity. Obviously, in 2023, it would be nice to have you again. hopefully, if this 5 keeps going. Um, but yeah, man. Episode 5. This is Raps. Thank you for being a part of it, and we'll see you in episode 6 after the All Star break.